Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, Sabaton Army. We've got another good one for you here today. We're going to be watching the videos for Lion of the North. That's the song for today. Or, I'm going to try and pronounce this in Swedish. Lehone från Norden. These were requested by the couple of folks who I wrote down who requested this was Johan Stang and someone who actually goes by the title Lion of the North. So thank you both for requesting this. There was many others who requested it, but these are the two that I captured. We're going to be watching 4 videos today. We're actually going to be doing 2 lyric videos. We're going to do the English version lyric video, and then we're going to do the Swedish version lyric video with translations. Then we're going to watch the Sabaton History lesson for the song, and we'll wrap it up with the live performance. Let me see where this live's at. This is at Stockholm, the Great Tour, Stockholm. Is the one we're going to be watching there. So excited about this. A lot of you have been asking for this song for a long time, so I'm happy to finally be getting around to it. If you're confused about my background, I'm on vacation right now. I'm set up in my hotel room here, so just a little different. Got a little setup, did a little different setup, but nothing we can't handle. So let's go ahead and jump into this first official lyric video. Let me get my cans on here. This is the Lion from the North. Not sure who this song is about, but I'm sure we'll know a lot more here in about 45 minutes when we get through all this. So not going to do a bunch of promo on the front end. You guys know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe, join the Patreon if you can. And thank you to everybody who's been doing that already. Liking the videos, commenting, subscribing, and joining the Patreon. Thank you all so much. All right, here we go. This is the English version of the song. Lyrics first, and then we're going to do the Swedish version second. I heard they're both a little different, so we've got to make sure we pay attention. Here we go. Sorry, I want to go back real quick. By the way, this lyric video is just awesome. Sabaton does the best lyric videos of anybody I've ever seen. I'll go forward. All right, so I'm guessing this is the hero of our story here, Gustavus Adolphus. Don't know who that is. Never heard anything about him. So I'm excited about learning about him and especially watching the history behind it. This came off of the Carolus Rex album, so I'm guessing it has something to do with that time frame. We'll see.
The future of warfare, they took away. There was
This is by far my favorite part of the song right here. This is all really great. All of this. All right. That was surprisingly good. Surprisingly good. I don't know why I'm saying surprisingly. I mean, a bunch of you guys recommended it, so it must have been something that was a good song. All right, let's jump in. This is the Swedish version of the song, and it's got the English translation on it. So we'll see how different it is from the original or from the one that we just listened to. Here we go. Doop, doop. This is nice because this one actually converts the Latin as well into English so I can understand what it says. Very nice. it talks about the eagle and the lion here. Obviously, if we're talking about the lion being the lion from the north, I'm guessing that that represents Sweden. The eagle's always been a symbol that I've associated with Germany. So maybe this is a confrontation between Germany and Sweden back in the day. Don't know. I guess we'll obviously find out here in a minute when we hit the history. Cool imagery though, very nice. Man, Piscator always does really good with his lyric videos, or hers. I'm not sure who Piscator is, but they do an amazing job. This was a really good one. All right, outstanding. This song is growing on me already. We got a rare Sabaton history here. We got Chris on this one. I think this might be my first time ever seeing Chris on a Sabaton history. We got Chris, obviously, from Sabaton, and Indy Nidell here. This is the Lion from the North, Gustavus Adolphus, Sabaton History number 90. This is the official, and here we go.
Hej, jag heter Gustavus Adolphus den andra.
And I'm Joachim from Sabaton.
Okay.
Because we've been lying to them for the last year and a half.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, lying. We've been lying to you. And in fact, all the history we've been doing, it's not even real history, actually.
I don't think I've ever even heard Chris's voice other than singing, which is weird. Weird the first time I hear him just speaking regularly.
Wait, Chris, come here. Chris,
Yeah,
Chris, come here. Chris, can you do the interview about this one? You want to do the interview? But you got a lunch meeting anyway.
Yeah, I got a lunch meeting.
Okay,
you want to take over?
Well, Chris, you sit down and okay?
Yeah.
All right, Joachim, great to see you again, buddy. All right, cool.
Oh.
Yeah. This is Sabaton History. Famous physician and alchemist Paracelsus made a prophecy towards the end of his life in the mid-1500s that one day a lion of midnight would arise. He would go out to fight the eagle from the south and defeat the enemies of Christ and their agents of destruction. The lion would then win the eagle's scepter and usher in an era of peace in Europe. And soon after his victory, the world would cease to exist. By the time the Swedish king Charles IX, Karl IX, died in 1611, the 16-year-old heir, Gustavus Adolphus, could not have been further away from fulfilling such a prophecy. His father had left him a legacy of 3 ongoing wars and the smoldering embers of a civil war which had sent the Catholic line of the royal family into exile. To add insult to injury, although the Swedish Riksdag declared Gustav fit to rule despite his age, he was only allowed control of the government if his reign was accompanied by a strong chancellor, so the nobleman Axel Oxenstierna was chosen to assist the young king. What could have easily been problematic proved to be the perfect partnership. Gustav Adolf showed all the signs of a gifted leader early on. His charisma was infectious, and he easily won over the Swedish people from the highest nobleman to the lowest servant. It was his dreams of greatness and seemingly endless ambition that inspired the people to follow him. Oxenstierna, on the other hand, was the born administrator and bureaucrat who preferred attending to matters of the state from the depths of his personal library. Together, the two overcame years of civil strife to reform the nation and modernize the military. While Gustav Adolf learned military matters, Oxenstierna talked business with the Swedish aristocracy. The two sought to open Sweden to the world. Sweden's handicap of being situated on the periphery of Europe with only limited natural resources was hardly the basis for an empire. But with international trade came international credit, and with credit came the ability to pay for an army. Sweden had virtually no allies and was seen by the European aristocrats as an upstart, backwards country full of unknown wilderness and barbarians. But there was a need to counter both Polish and Danish threats to his rule, and Gustav wanted to continue what his father had begun and create a Protestant Swedish empire on the shores of the Baltic Sea. Fast forward some years. When the 30 Years' War was a third of its way through, the Catholic imperial forces of the Habsburg Emperor were rapidly advancing into northern Germany. Denmark's intervention in the confessional conflict as the champion of Protestantism was rather short-lived, and the Danes' defeat in 1629 ended their status as a real power. Gustav Adolf, who had spent the last few years fighting a tough war in Poland, was at first delighted by the defeat of his Scandinavian rival, but tensions grew with Catholic armies now at all the edges of his newly emerging empire. His family, the Vasa dynasty, had made political connections with the German royal families in the north, and Gustav Adolf himself had married the Protestant Princess of Brandenburg. But fears of a Catholic Habsburg-Polish alliance directed against Gustav Adolf's throne became more pressing. When the besieged city of Stralsund asked the Swedes for help, Gustav Adolf felt like he had no real choice but to get involved. And the 30 Years' War then grew into a battle between the lion from the north and the eagle from the south. The decision to get involved in the German conflict was nothing but a gamble. Sweden had only recently conquered major cities and territories along the Baltic coast and was running out of money. Oxenstierna calculated they would need an army of at least 75,000 men to take and hold the north of the Germanic states. But in late 1630, they could only muster around 30,000. So although this was more than Gustav had ever led in Poland, he would need all of his military skills to be successful. The overwhelming Swedish victory in the Battle of Weitenfeld in 1631, though, changed the image of the Swedes overnight. Gustav Adolf rose from unknown king to European sensation. The Protestants hailed him as their savior, as the new Alexander, the lion from the north, the golden king. As quickly as possible, he led his army south, capturing wealthy German cities on the way until he stood before the Rhine. As he entered Frankfurt, where traditionally Germanic kings and emperors went for their coronation, the people of Europe began to speculate about the real size of Gustav Adolf's ambitions, even as the size of his army grew and grew. See, back when he was crowned as Gustav den Andre Adolf, he had entered the coronation ceremony in a symbolic manner. He was dressed as a Goth. And no, I don't mean someone in a black leather coat and tons of mascara. I mean, like badass Goths from ancient times who went out to sack Rome. Would he now make this a reality and march on the capital of Christendom? The Catholics feared and hated the Swedish king as the spawn of Satan himself. They portrayed his host as a horde of Laplanders riding reindeer into battle, or exotic Scottish barbarians and Finlanders who possessed magical powers that could change the weather. Gustav did little to combat those rumors, and since he took over the imperial postal monopoly, he began distributing his own propaganda throughout the empire, stylizing himself as a savior and a just ruler with little imperial ambition. This, of course, shaped the legends about him even further. In reality, his short-term goals were rather mundane. He had to pay his giant new army, which was draining his finances. If the champion of Protestantism had to strong-arm his new Protestant friends for contributions or seize their territory for profit, so be it. His friendship had a price, and if cities did not want Swedish troops to show up for a surprise visit at their gates, they better pay their feudal dues to the man. In the long term, though, he wanted to be rid of the Catholic influence that threatened his northern empire. Rome was of no interest to him, nor the extinction of Catholicism or of the Holy Roman Empire, but he was still marching south. Oxenstierna urged caution. The march so far south was a huge risk for the overstretched Swedish army. Although they had plundered many rich cities along the way, it was their northern power base which was now pretty unprotected. Oxenstierna feared an endless war, one which Sweden seemed like it might have been dragged into. Gustav.
It's always seems like that's the case when these conquering armies set out to take over other landscapes. They always just seem to overextend themselves to the point where they just end up crippling their own strength. If they could only, control their urge to be bigger and bigger, they may have been a lot more successful. It seems like that's what happens every time, is they just get so overextended that their armies become so large and so spread out that they can't pay them, they can't supply them, they can't feed them, all that kind of stuff. And ultimately it ends up going the other way.
Adolf had given the Imperials a bloody nose, yeah, sure, but they were far from defeated. Even after 5 more major battles and a large number of smaller engagements, the war did not reach a conclusion. By 1632, Gustav Adolf's forces marched into the imperial homelands, advancing as far as Munich and laying siege to Nuremberg. But Gustav had made a strategic blunder. While they were busy in the south, the Imperial General Wallenstein outmaneuvered the Swedes and marched north, raiding deep into the territory of Sweden's Saxon ally. This threatened to cut off the whole communications line and forced Gustav Adolf to race north after Wallenstein. It was already November, and his troops were pretty exhausted from the campaign, but he hoped that another Breitenfeld would get rid of imperial power in the north once and for all. With Gustav's host approaching, Wallenstein halted his troops near Lutzen, a small town near Leipzig. The Imperials were initially fewer in number, under 17,000 men and 20 heavy guns strong, but they had chosen an advantageous spot between marshes and fortified Lutzen. Gustav Adolf brought more than 19,000 men and 60 heavy guns with him and ordered the attack. The Swedish king was well known as a brilliant innovator of modern tactics and military techniques. Early on, he had studied military theory of Wallhausen and Maurits, implementing the new ideas from the United Provinces. In a checkerboard formation, he moved his pike and shot brigades forward, flanked by the heavy Swedish cavalry. At first, it seemed like the Swedes were claiming another easy victory.
War was so different back then than it is these days, obviously. You'll never see a checkerboard troop formation across a field ever again. That's just not how warfare is done these days. Everything's so technical. It's kind of neat to look back and see how they did it, though. Let me back up a second.
At first, it seemed like the Swedes were claiming another easy victory. The Imperial left wing gave way under the pressure of the Swedish heavy cavalry.
This reminds me so much of the game Age of Empires. Have any of you ever played Age of Empires? It's a really big game in our house. We have multiple computers networked together so we can play against each other. Unfortunately, I'm not the best one in our family. My wife is the best one in our family. She kicks my ass every time. But it's a fun game to play. A lot of the battlefields look like what you just saw here in this painting.
And only the timely arrival of reinforcements saved Wallenstein from disaster. The town of Lutzen was set on fire to stop the Swedes from taking it. But strong winds blew the heavy smoke right onto the battlefield. Soon, With all the smoke of the discharged guns as well, it became nearly impossible to see and direct the battle from afar, especially for the near-sighted Swedish king. It was a fierce and brutal battle, with both sides suffering heavy casualties and several units breaking and fleeing the field. In the center, the Swedish infantry threw itself repeatedly against the entrenched Imperial musketeers, paying a bloody price. So to rally and support his troops, Gustav Adolf and his bodyguards rode out onto the field. They joined the advance on the right wing, but with the smoke and the overall chaos of battle, Gustav soon got lost in the confusion. Suddenly, he was hit by a musket shot, crushing the bones in his left arm. Then his horse got hit in the neck, reeling out of control. Gustav's master of horse tried to lead his king away from the imperial lines as they were rushed by a squadron of enemy horsemen. Pistols were fired at close range, and a chaotic melee ensued. A discharge burned the face of his protector, who lost his grip on the Swedish king. Gustav Adolf was hit by another ball and stabbed by a sword. He fell to the ground. Unaware of the king's fate, the battle raged on all afternoon. Once more, the Swedes renewed their attacks against Lutzen, finally throwing the Imperials out. Wallenstein lost his nerve as his flanks buckled, ordering a general retreat. By the evening, as the battle subsided, the search for the Swedish king began. The search party spotted the king's riderless horse and began inspecting the dead bodies on the ground. After a long search, Gustav Adolf was finally found. Mutilated by several stab wounds and with a bullet wound in the temple, he lay there among the nameless dead. His armor and possessions had been looted from his lifeless corpse. The Swedes at first tried to hide their king's fate by putting his body in a wagon, but rumors soon circulated. Both sides had lost thousands of men in the Battle of Lutzen, but although it was the Imperials who had quit the field first, the death of Gustavus Adolphus likely had the greatest impact on the course of the war. He had not just been the Swedish king. He was a living legend, the lion, the child of prophecy. Soldiers were proud to follow the rightful king in the north, just to be part of his legend. But now, who was to lead them? Did Sweden's imperial dreams and ambitions die with Gustav? Destiny, it seemed, had taken a different path than the prophecy had suggested. Well, Chris, it's great to have you here once again.
Oh, thank you. That's nice of you to have me.
As you know, most of you know, this is not, of course, Chris. This is, in fact, Joachim. Now, but with a lot of bands, now I know that when I was especially when I was a teenager and stuff, I had favorite bands. You had their albums, you had pictures of them all. But sometimes you would get the wrong name assigned to the wrong person because maybe you hadn't read a lot of. There's no internet and stuff. And
Yeah, and sometimes they messed it up in the booklet when they at the art design.
this is true, and so a couple of them. There's certain genres of music where you'll have like people who will all dress exactly the same, so they can be a little interchangeable. Now I'm going to use this because you do actually have quite distinct look from the rest of your. Actually, most of you guys do. So, but you're the short-haired guy. You're the guy with like the creepy facial hair and stuff.
The creepy guy. What the
With the reflective sunglasses, so in case there's porn showing on the monitors, everybody in the audience can see that. But you do have a distinctive look, so I don't think that would happen to you particularly often, especially because you're the lead singer. But that leads me to asking something. Do you ever get confused about like say lyrics between one song and another song and stuff when you're
Yes, especially when it comes to this album, Karol's Rex,
Yeah.
and all the songs on it, because they're available in both Swedish and English.
True.
And that makes a huge difference, actually. I don't remember how many times. So like, this song, Lion from the North, I remember clearly. I can't remember if we were doing it in that night in Swedish or English. But let's say we sang it in English, and I ran off for the guitar solo.
Yeah.
And when I come back for the bridge part
Yeah.
and clap along. And I'm starting to sing Swedish, and I changed the language.
Yeah.
Everybody else is like, what the
Does the audience have a problem with that, do you think? Or are they just like, oh, okay.
No, most of the times, I mean, most people know that it's available in both languages.
Yeah.
So people are usually laughing about it. But it's happened like 4 or 5 times. And I also Carolus Rex, one of our most popular songs.
Yeah.
I've sung it, I don't know how many times in both languages. But sometimes I get afraid of getting it wrong that I black out. So I've actually had, all embrace me, it's my Stockholm say, what?
Wow.
I don't know where to go. So yeah, sometimes that only me being afraid of making that mistake will cause me to make mistakes.
Well, you could do what Uwe Törnqvist has to do, since now you guys have written a lot of songs. He's 91 years old now, right? he's a Swedish art. He was big starting in the 50s. He was like the first rock star in Sweden, like 1954, 55, and he's 91 and he still tours. And I know that he does this because I played piano on his 90th birthday tour, which was really fun, playing for a bunch of 80-year-olds and stuff. But I'm a little behind, so he's got a little monitor, and he has really bad vision, with gigantic letters of all of his texts coming up and stuff, because he's written something like 800 songs, and and a lot of these songs that we're doing were written in the 1950s or the early 1960s, and I don't mean just like that. Of course, he's going to remember all the words to the hits and stuff, but he really needs that. Now, I think you've mentioned this before.
I always thought it'd be great if during concerts there was screens in the stadium or venue or wherever the person is playing that actually had the lyrics going during the concert. Both for, I don't know, maybe the lead singer might need to just remember where he's at in the song, but also so the crowd can sing along. I think it'd just be a great experience for, I don't know, people who may not necessarily know the lyrics behind a song can hear it and watch it live. I don't know.
And I don't remember. I know when you play these songs from Carolus Rex in Sweden, you play them in Swedish.
Yes.
How often do you do the Swedish versions abroad?
It depends on the language capabilities on that country and what kind of language they're speaking there. We've noticed that, present company excluded, but Americans and British people are a bit handicapped when it comes to second and third language.
It's true. Yep. Some of them are handicapped when it comes to first languages. Insert drum roll.
Yes.
Okay, there goes 5 patrons.
I'd be mad if it wasn't true.
America.
Yeah, sorry. in America and Britain, so they don't like the Swedish version.
No, exactly, because they're so used to everything being in English.
Yeah.
We did, on a couple of tours, we usually played one song in Swedish.
Okay.
We chose one and did that in Swedish, which is usually very appreciated, actually.
Okay.
But doing all of them in Swedish, we figured it worked only in Sweden, Finland, now not Finland, Norway, Denmark, and sometimes in Finland, depending on where in Finland you are.
All right, sure.
And other than that, places where they are generally very bad at English. So
But then it's okay.
Because then it's like,
not gonna understand anyway.
yeah.
Okay.
So
So Nevada. Why did I pick?
I'm laughing. I'm laughing because my entire in-laws family's from Nevada. That's great.
That place. Well, they're not particularly bad at English in Nevada.
I wouldn't say so, no.
No, they're good at counting.
Oh yeah.
You see what I mean? Because of Vegas.
I see.
Yeah, I mean the hits never stop here. All right, not Chris. Why don't you say goodbye to all those people in Nevada and not Nevada?
All right, everyone in Nevada and not Nevada. Thank you very much for watching. Hope we'll meet again very soon. Same time, same channel, same place. Bye-bye.
See ya.
You click, 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 click. Get some subscriptions, check out Indy's other channels, become a Patreon. That's it. Get the fuck out of here.
Yes, definitely support Sabaton on Patreon. It helps get these Sabaton history lessons done. So definitely do that. All right, we're going to jump into this live to complete this deep dive. I love the story behind this. I didn't realize it was going to end with his death on the battlefield. And, you know, if someone's going to lead a military, they got to be willing to get their hands dirty. And it looks like he got down there in the fray and it cost him. His bodyguards should have stuck as close to him as possible. But, you know, it is what it is. All right, this is the Sabaton Leonet från Norden, live from the Great Tour in Stockholm. Here we go. That was very confusing because I'm looking at these guys and I'm going, oh, okay, that looks like Joachim over there on the left, and who are these? Wait a minute, that's not Joachim. So these must be some hired musicians that came in to do this performance. Very cool. I always love when they incorporate strings with a metal band live. It always sounds amazing. The oh God, sorry, I just interrupted a solo, but I did it for a good reason. I promise. It was actually to honor the solo. It always frustrates me when they do these videos on stage that whoever the cameraman is that's recording never focuses on the guitar solos while they're going on. This is a great example here. I think Chris is over there playing. Tommy could be over here playing on this side too, but the cameraman during the solos is focusing on everything but the guitarist. I want to back up because I don't want to have interrupted it. We'll go back to right here. Here we go. All right. Hell yeah. That's how you do it live. All right. That wraps up this deep dive into the song The Lion from the North by Sabaton. I enjoyed this song very much. I'm not sure how I'll rank it. I think it's somewhere in between 10 and 20 on my list, which isn't saying anything bad. I've done over 45 Sabaton reactions at this point, and to rank in the top 20 means it's in the better half of the songs that I've heard. So very good song. If you guys enjoyed this reaction, hit that like button down below for me. Helps me out a lot. Makes me feel good that people are liking my stuff. And if you're not already a subscriber to the channel, right down here below, click that red button. It'll turn gray, let you know you're subscribed. And if you hit the bell next to it, it'll let you know anytime we drop some new content over here on Touchy Reactions. Every Saturday and Sunday is when I drop Sabaton content, so tune in for Saturdays and Sundays. But we got a lot of other groups that we're reacting to right now from all over the world. If you haven't seen The Warning yet, tune in for a Warning reaction on Thursdays. They are amazing if you like rock. So if you don't know, now you know. That's all we got for this reaction today. Appreciate you everybody coming by. If you're one of my patrons, thank you so much for supporting the channel. And if you're the type of person who can support small channels trying to grow on YouTube, there's a link up here in the corner to the Patreon, and we appreciate all our patrons. That's all I got for this video. Appreciate you stopping by, and don't forget to come on back.